people who join us through recording. So, with that, I think we are ready to go. How are we doing on your end?
We're doing fine, doing fine. It's a beautiful day here. It's nice and cold. There's snow on the ground. So the world is really well lit where I'm sitting.
Oh, excellent. There's snow on the ground here too, and I'm here in Minnesota.
Yes, yes. So I just wanted to say hello to everybody. A happy end of the year. We have to celebrate every single day that we're here on this planet. So I'm grateful to be here. And I'm really excited that Bestemming Yoga is bringing to you a little session on writing ma mantras for yoga. So what is a mantra? A mantra can be many different things. Many you may probably already have mantras of your own, and they're ideas. They are phrases that help us just reflect and give us guidance, give us intention, give us positivity. And you can incorporate mantras in your practice. You can incorporate mantras in your daily lives. They're just affirmations that help us move through life. Right? And so one of the anchors or goals of writing mantras is to offering clarity and um, having clear intentions about where you would like to go or be, and using positive language, so that people can anchor themselves, so that you can anchor yourself in a space that you find safe and uplifting. Mantras can be used uh, to help us with our meditation, if meditation is in your practice, or just with mindfulness, being in the moment. And mantras typically they can be read, they can be repeated, and they can be used really in any way that you see fit in your uh, in your lives. Um, Mantras, there's no right or wrong. But the words in a mantra should be resonant words, words that language that helps one feel safe and true and supportive. So, what is a mantra? Right? A mantra offers um, like short, intentional words that can be repeated, and it helps one shift their focus. They Some mantras that you may have heard are in Sanskrit, right? And they use Sanskrit sounds such as Om, right, or phrases, while modern mantras can be in any language. Um, so both traditional or contemporary approaches are valid. There's no right or wrong, but they both invite peace, respect for cultural roots. So they're very affirming, and the mood is uplifting and reflective. So, a mantra is also can also be considered like a mind tool, right? A sacred utterance. And mantras, as I mentioned earlier, it can be a sound that is repeated and vocalized over and over and over again, that it almost sounds like a song, right? And often when you hear that repetitious sound, it can help enhance relaxing, meditating, maybe even sleep. Um, it Mantras are also guiding words or sounds that can help us focus our attention inward, right? And they can be uplifting and also transformative. And so when you write your own mantras, it's it adds another layer to the meaning behind the mantras that you are used to uttering yourselves, because you have selected those words, and those words mean something to you, whereas other mantras that you may have adopted, you did adopt them into your own space and into your own practice, and into your own belief set. So, how do mantras support your practice? Well, a mantra can help regulate your nervous system. It helps regulate your breath. It can reinforce supportive beliefs. Like, let's just say, for example, that my mantra is I am, right? And I can just repeat I am, I am, I am, I am, I am. Or maybe my mantra can be, an affirmation like, today I begin with strength. 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 So, it can be very simple. It could be one word. It really can be anything that means something to you. And it doesn't have to be, it could be in any language. It can be in your own language. So any group from any country can write a mantra, right? A mantra can be universal. A mantra connects what people can feel. Um, and you can connect a mantra to what people can feel in a class. It can be calm, it can be a steady rhythm. It can help provide a sense of being that are held by those words. Sometimes just saying I am, two simple words, it kind of reinforces the sense and the meaning of I am, that you are, right? You're here, you exist. And how important is that? Right? And by repeating it, you're taking time out for yourself, recognizing the reality of your existence, and the beauty of your existence, and the strength of your existence, and the meaning and the significance of your existence. Repeating the phrasing, whatever the phrase is, can soften sometimes self-criticism that we can have. It can help us build self-trust. And most of all, it can help deepen interoception. And interoception is uh, us recognizing and being aware of ourselves on the inside, right? Often in yoga, when you're in a yoga practice, you may hear your teacher say, "Well, take a moment to scan your body." Right? And you can start from the tips of your toes and go all the way up through the crown of your head. Right. So, if you go too quickly, maybe you might miss it. But if you actually do scan your body, scan your body, scan your body slowly, it becomes part of your practice. You recognize through interoception, how does your body feel at this moment and time? Um, what is it telling you? You know, uh, what clues is it giving you about where you are at this moment? About your health, about your well-being, about your mental health, about your nervous system. Okay. So, uh, this deepened interoception is super important, even if you're not one who meditates. You find your own way of meditating, right? We use mantras to support, not to override someone's real feelings, right? These are words, but these are words that can carry some weight, that can be significant for you in building those connections between the mind, the body, and the spirit. So, how many types of mantras are there? There are different types of mantras that you can have spiritual mantras, you can have affirmation-based mantras, and then intention or cue-based mantras. So, the focus on writing accessible, clear mantras in everyday language is about creating that level of understanding while also honoring traditional forms, right? So um, teachers use language that is authentic to them and appropriate in their communities. You would think we are encouraged to do so. And so in some yoga practices, you'll find that some teachers use more Sanskrit, and they'll use classical spiritual mantras, but it's helpful if the students, the practitioners, understand what it is that they're saying. So that then it's like learning a language. A mantra can also be a language that one learns. And especially if you're going to adopt what it is that you're saying, you should take the time to really discover the meaning of the words, and their significance, so that you feel comfortable um, sharing them and saying them. Um, Cue-based mantras can be like inhale and lengthen, exhale and soften, right? So as you're breathing, they're guiding. Cue-based mantras are guiding phrasing that teachers can use so to help move a class along and help students move along. What are the core qualities of an effective mantra? They are simple, they're short, typically in present tense. They're supportive, not shaming or pressuring. Um, the idea is for mantras not to be too complex, because then it takes away from just the comfort of the repetition, right? So you wouldn't want to say, I will completely erase all negative thoughts immediately, something like that. You want to be more supportive, like I'm learning to speak kindly to myself. I'm learning to speak kindly to myself. You want to stress the importance of believability, right? So you want to repeat what is real, right? So if a mantra doesn't feel like it is authentic, the nervous system may resist it. So you can say whatever you want to say, but your body really will tell you if it feels real. And if your nervous system accepts it, adopts it, it will help in regulating your nervous system. Um, and often you can also use bridging mantras, like I mentioned earlier, I am. Like I'm open to the possibility that, or I am practicing, whatever it is that you're practicing. So you can use mantras as a bridge to another pose, as a bridge to another part of a meditation, as a bridge to breathing, right? Or just as a bridge to another state of being. Language is so important. Um, as I mentioned earlier, you want to avoid any kind of language that's shaming or pressuring. So avoid words like, should or must or perfect. You know, the perfection is in the imperfection. The perfection is in the practicing, okay? In the doing. The fact that we are up, that we are doing, that we are moving, that, that aims towards the perfection, but we are here, that is most important. Mantras should offer choices, or I use the word should. typically are they suggest choices, like may or can or are invited to. If you've taken my classes before, I always invite you to take a next breath. I invite you to raise your arms. I invite you to um, to just rest, you know. Um, so uh, the idea of forcing an impression or forcing an idea, even forcing a mantra, it's not for everybody. You know, you may have been at yoga practices where there is chanting that takes place, and there's nothing wrong with chanting, but not everybody chants. Not everybody feels comfortable chanting. But if you feel comfortable in that space, some people can chant and some people can quietly just be. You can quietly repeat your own mantra. There are options, there are choices. It's your practice. Um, so often, because there is body shaming that exists. There is, and it's well-meaning when someone says, I love my body, or you should love your body. But instead, you can you can say or suggest, I am listening to my body. I respect what my body does. You can say that you love maybe your lungs because they help you breathe. You can say that you appreciate your heart because it beats, and it allows for the blood to circulate through. It pumps through your body. It brings oxygen through your body. You can find your own way to instill the positivity, but you don't want to force it. Um, the idea of a mantra is be creative and think of language that create emotional safety, and leave room for each person to present reality, for each person's present reality, right? So, I'll repeat that. Our mantras should create emotional safety and leave room for each person's present reality. Because I might be in a space where I'm not feeling well. I've come down with something, so I'm not in the space where I really love my body right now, right? That's a reality. Or something has happened and I don't love my body. But it doesn't mean that I don't love my body. It just means that I need some sort of other reinforcement. So a mantra could be, I am listening to my body, or I appreciate how my body can deal with illness, or can heal, right? So you want to create use language that is emotionally sensitive, so that there is room for each individual's present reality. Meaning, someone who's sick, someone who has a capacity issue, and so there is space for all of us. The anatomy of a mantra. Okay. Um, some might say, well, it's like writing poetry. Uh, I don't write poetry. I write verses, right? That could wind up being poetry, but someone would have to teach me the anatomy of a poem. That's not something that really comes comfortably to me. I've never studied that. But um, for instance, I write songs. So sometimes how my songs are organized or composed, they could read as a poem, but I don't frame them as a poem. It's amazing what the the mind can produce without really knowing, right? So the anatomy of a mantra, from a structural standpoint, can suggest um, an action, right? There is a subject, and there is supportive focus. So less of a structure and more of thematic factors that are part of a mantra is that you include a subject, whether it's we or this moment or I. Um, you can include a supportive focus, whether it's resting, being at ease, self-trust, or strength. Um, and then um, the like an example that, oh, and the action could be, choosing, welcoming, allowing, right? Appreciating, right? It could be a quality. So an example of a mantra could be, I choose to move with compassion, or in this moment, I welcome ease, right? And sometimes mantras are not exactly how we would speak to one another, but when we write a mantra, we we become so creative, right? Because we want to make them short and we want to make them intentional and we want to make them impactful, and something that would kind of roll off our tongue and would be easy to repeat over and over and over again. Um, so breaking it down, we want to say, in terms of assembling a mantra, you want to choose who it is about, right? Or what it is about, and the quality you want to invite, whether it's ease or courage or curiosity or grounding or patience. And then you want to invite them, us, to notice which words immediately feel soothing versus stressful. Okay. So there it is an equation of sorts, right? Or more of a calculus, right? You want to, and for some it could be maybe a puzzle, right? Putting the pieces of a mantra together. However you do it, it's your own process, you know, um, similar to how, we each learn differently, and but we learn, correct? Uh, So I do hope that you have fun putting it together. So one more time, in assembling a mantra, you have to choose what it is about. What is the intention? Who are you going to say it to? And you want to think about, the words being supportive versus stressful. Stressful. You don't want the words to be stressful. Okay. So, when you're writing a mantra for yoga or for a yoga class, it can help. It doesn't have to be aligned with the theme of the class, because some classes don't necessarily have themes unless, it's the type of class. You may want to align it with the type of class. If you're doing a power yoga class or you're doing a gentle class, a gentle flow or a yin or a restorative, maybe align it with that, but there's no requirement. You can also match the energy. That I think is more important, but then again, that's just my personal preference. You may want to match the energy, whether it's strong, playful, restorative, gentle, creative. Um, Also, using sensory or breath cues is something that you can do. You want to keep it easy to repeat. So while we can get very creative and flowery, maybe in our approach, in the end, you want to keep it easy to repeat because that's the idea of a mantra, something that we can say over and over again that will become part of our psyche, right? It's like learning a new word, right? Or learning a language. In order for us to remember it, there needs to be some level of repetition, whether it's 20 times, 30 times, 50 times, and then all of a sudden it's there, you know? You've captured it, cognition at its best. So an example in a grounding class, right? A yoga grounding class, one could say, I am rooted and supported. I am rooted and supported. Not hard to repeat. I am rooted and supported. I mean, and this is something that you could adopt, standing, before a stressful situation, or maybe after a stressful situation. You're standing, wherever you're standing, you take a moment, close your eyes, and say, I am rooted and supported. I am rooted and supported. It can help anyone. In a heart opening practice, right? Shoulders are back. You are, your heart, your rib cage is expanded. Your lungs are receiving, energy. And your breath is lengthier, deeper, right? One could say, I meet myself with kindness. I meet myself with kindness, right? Because it's a heart opening practice. Some heart opening practices maybe use a bolster or a block underneath your shoulder blades, maybe supporting your lower back. And as your shoulders roll back and drape over, your arms are at your sides, palms facing up. That is the heart opener where you're stretching that rib cage, shoulders are relaxed. It's a heart opening practice, right? And so you can say, I meet myself with kindness. In a restorative practice, perhaps a mantra could be, it is safe to soften here. It is safe to soften. Um, there are other examples of different classes could be a flow class, a yin class, an aerial class, a chair yoga class, a kids yoga class. So, there are many different types of classes where you can craft mantras that align with those classes. You want to emphasize the repetition. Maybe say the mantra a few times in the beginning and then close with the mantra at the end during Shavasana. Um, and then I can give you a suggestion for an optional mantra, such as, if it feels comfortable, you might whisper to yourself and then you fill in the blank. If it feels comfortable, you might whisper to yourself and then you fill in the blank. Right? So there are starter mantras, right, where you can fill in the blank as you grow more comfortable uh, and you write your own. In in writing your own mantras, it could be part of your personal meditation or just something that you like to do. You like to write, you want to. Journaling is not necessarily something you might be consistent with. I know I'm not. I'm well-meaning, have tons of journals, and then after a week or so, something happens and I just can't be regular about it. But that doesn't mean I stop writing. I always go back. I always find my way back, whether it's a mantra, a paragraph, an idea, a thought, a letter, a lyric. I go back. So, in a way, my inconsistency is consistent because I go back. Um, and it took me a long time to really see it that way, but that has become part of my mantra. So, some prompts that you can ask yourself when you're thinking about writing your own mantra. Um, you can ask yourself, what do I most need to hear right now? If you could say something to yourself, what could it be? What do I most need to hear right now? Or you can ask yourself, what quality am I cultivating? What quality am I cultivating? Um, is it patience? Is it rest? Is it courage? Is it happiness? Is it hope? Is it faith? Is it kindness? So ask yourself questions. Inquiry can help us answer. Even if we don't know the answer, just keep asking questions. And sometimes those questions turn into declarative statements, right? Um, another prompt that you could use to help you, kind of nurture that curiosity is, what old story am I ready to soften? What old story am I ready to soften? Huh. So is that suggesting that the old story was hard, was tough, was difficult? I don't know, maybe, right? These are questions. Um, so some sample mantras is, and I shared this earlier, I'm allowed to rest. I am allowed to slow down. You are allowed. You're allowed to laugh. You're allowed to cry. You're allowed to be, right? Another sample mantra could be, I am learning to trust my pace. I am learning to trust myself. I am learning to trust, right? Um, But as you use some of these sample mantras, like you think about what else could I do with this? You know, um, how can I make this mantra resonate with me in a way that nothing else has, right? And this isn't something that you can do in 2 minutes. It takes time. Sometimes you could be at a restaurant and all of a sudden something just comes to you. Write it down on a napkin, you know, put it in your notes in your phone, right? So just think of different situations. A sample mantra that I like to read is, I am safe to breathe and be. I am safe to breathe and be. And an example that I'll share is, uh, sometimes, when I've had a cold and, you get that chest congestion and, it's hard to breathe. It's hard to breathe. You're wondering, like, when is this going to be over? When can I feel like myself? I am safe to breathe and be. As opposed to saying something that could be negative, um, I'm safe to breathe and be. And kind of takes your mind off of it. So, I invite you to think of a situation in your life where you have felt pressure or fear or self-doubt. And then let that mantra be the counterweight, but not a magic fix. Okay. Mantras are there to be supportive. They don't necessarily fix anything, right? Um, so I encourage you to write mantras that you could realistically repeat over and over and over again. Guided mantra writing. Um, you can ask yourself, let's do a check-in. Right? Maybe the guided part of the mantra writing is, we're going to write mantras about checking in. How do I feel today? And the mantra could be, how would you answer that question? Write a mantra that answers that question. How do I feel today? I feel alive. That is my mantra. I feel alive, right? And that could be, I feel alive, or I feel alive, right? How transformative is that from just a very monotone mantra, like, yeah, I'm alive, so what? Or I feel alive, I feel alive, I feel alive. Okay. Another guidepost can be choosing a theme. That can help us write a mantra. Like, do you want it to be calm? Do you want to exude courage or patience or joy or healing or gratitude? Right? The sky's the limit. Find a theme. There's so many, make them up. Um, and our creative juices don't always flow in a linear fashion. It's just they're like bubbles, um, like snowflakes coming down or like bubbles bursting. It's spatial, it's not linear. And then as you're practicing, you can maybe try to write 3 short mantras that connect to that theme that you selected, and then circle the one that feels the best for you at the moment. Okay. So I encourage you to do that. You can do that at your own pace, at your own time, right? And then when you find that mantra, when you write that mantra, what you can do is, um, I would invite you to a deep breath, maybe putting your hand on your heart or your belly, right? Deep breathing. You have a couple of minutes to just think of the mantra and then just repeat the mantra several times, right? And then as you repeat the mantra, just take notice of how your shoulders feel. Like, do your shoulders drop? Does your breath lengthen? And when that happens, then you have found the mantra that does it for you. Okay? That could be a test. Another opportunity for mantra writing or development or creating or editing is journaling. I don't know how, where you sit in the space of journaling, but if it's something that you enjoy, you can combine journaling with creating these affirmations, um, and then go back and then discover the ones that you really want to share and use. Um, so, you know, um, you have the opportunity and the option to change your mantras. There's nothing that says that you must stick to that mantra. Choice is key. Okay. Um, all right. So, I want to encourage you to start or keep or integrate mantras into your journal. Um, so this is a place where you can write your little notes, write your phrases that resonate with you. It could be something that someone says to you, something that you hear on television, something that you've read in a book. It could be part of, mantras come from daily life. And then over time, you can build your library of mantras for different moods and different situations. And so, an example of different mantras, for example, you can have grounding mantras, which could be I am rooted at this moment, my breath is my home. You can have compassion mantras. An example of that is I speak to myself with kindness. Or one that I like is I am a work in progress and that's enough. But I don't subscribe to that one all the time because I don't want to be a work in progress, right? But I am. I am. We all are. Uh, uh, so I am a work in progress and that's enough. Or a mantra of strength and resilience. I am stronger than this moment feels. I am stronger than this moment feels. Or I can meet this with courage and care. I can meet this with courage and care. Uh, a rest and recovery mantra could be rest is productive. And my favorite, I am allowed to slow down. I am allowed to slow down. So I invite you to choose a mantra from each category to try for a day or a week. Um, and then remember that you can adapt these and make them your own. Uh, when you use mantras as part of a reflective practice, I recommend that, closing with gratitude and then thanking the the participants, the yogis, for sharing their voices. You can use mantras in yoga circles, which we did in the session before. And when people share and they speak in an open space with comfort, that's a big deal because you've created an environment that feels safe and comfortable. Um, Remind the participants or the practitioners that the most powerful mantras are the ones that feel like a friend and not a critic. And that's what I have for you today.
Well, thank you so much. That was so helpful. I feel like a better person coming out of this session, reminding myself you are allowed to slow down. I wrote down several of them, but I can meet this with courage and care. I think there's just so much that is worth a breath and the time and space that you know, um, that you gave us to think about these things and talk about these things. And I guess for me, inner dialogue as well.
Yes, yes. So again, this is just an introduction. It's something that I hope that inspires you to continue on this writing journey on your own. And as always, I'm here. I'm always happy to connect, engage, and share your mantras with me. I would be happy to, to share them with my students. I'm always looking for inspiration. So as much as doing these sessions inspire me, because the opportunity to be able to share what I've learned and what I'm learning with you. The reverse happens. I appreciate the energy and the feedback, and so that it makes me grow as well.
Ye- Yes, that is really like the best case scenario with learning, right?
Yeah.
That we connect and it goes multiple different ways. It impacts all of us, and
Yeah,
we're so lucky to have technology to be able to do that.
absolutely. Yes.
Yes. So, one thing I want to do is say that, of course, well, my cursor's never in the right spot when I get to sharing the link, but we definitely appreciate learning along with you today. And we want to remind our participants that they can schedule their own Bestemming yoga session with you to explore all different types of yoga, whether that's, going deeper into mantras or learning different poses and relaxation techniques or facilitating or participating in yoga circles. All of that is a part of what you do. And I've put the website here for Bestemming Yoga in the chat, so feel free to reach out there. And then I also wanted to let you know that it's not always the case that we have two roam from homes so close together. And so we have another roam from home next Tuesday. And that is Chat with the Ranger with Zion National Park. Didn't quite get that Z out right there. But Zion National Park, Chat with the Ranger. And to sign up for that, I've included the registration link in the chat. So thank you for joining us. And Alex, as always, it's a pleasure to have you here on Roam from Home.
All right. Have a wonderful day. Have a wonderful
You
weekend,
too.
everyone.
Yes, you too. Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.